Let's talk Luke Rockhold. It looks like there is some clarity, at least in the interim, that Luke is not going to fight again. And to remind you of Luke's last contest, he moved up to 205 pounds, which I personally loved. It was very exciting at the time that he moved up. He instantly, just by getting in the weight class, and I'm giving you some history here, but he instantly, by moving in the weight class, became the next biggest name that wasn't John Jones. So he was on a good trajectory in a time that they were looking for some fresh blood and some fresh matchups. He gets in there with Jan. Everybody knew Jan was good, but I don't think we quite knew how good Jan was. Is that fair? Jan beating Rockhold, then Jan beating Jacare. Can we admit that, okay, now we get it, but maybe at the time of that fight, we just chalked him up to good as opposed to a contender. Is that fair? So Luke moves up in weight, and you could just see by the fight the way it was playing out that Luke was a little surprised with the size and the power that 205-pounders had. You could see that. Luke fought, contrary to what your eyes might have told you, he fought very well. He got into some very good positions. I can remember him getting underhooks and pushing into the fence, and all of a sudden he can't hold Jan there. And sometimes he couldn't even push him there. But from a technical standpoint, Luke was doing everything right. He just ran into some size where he needed to adjust. And I do think had he not taken that big shot, it was rumored to have broken his jaw. I think that he would have used that as a learning experience, used that as an adaptation, if you will, come back and done just fine. But when he did take that shot, Luke's one of these guys that has other options, right? He's a real handsome guy and people like him. Supposedly he's got a great modeling career. I say supposedly because I don't really know, but I hear he's got a great deal and he's doing some modeling. Point is, Luke has finally come out and he said, look, I don't know if I'm ever returning. And when a guy starts talking like that, that's kind of saying, look, I'm out. It's one of these things that is very, very hard to stop doing for a period of time and come back. One of the reasons that Nate Diaz, just to use a recent example that you guys will recognize, got so much acclaim and esteem from that win over Anthony Pettis is he hadn't done it in 3 years. He came out with a performance that was flat shocking. How well he fought, conditioning, how hard he pushed for 15 minutes after being out. Let me go back even further. You guys will remember when George Foreman came back. Now, one of the reasons that was such a big deal is because George was up there in age. What was he, 48 years old, 49 when he beat Michael Moore? It wasn't just the age, though. It was the fact that he'd been off. It's very remarkable to come back and do something. Lance Armstrong, to use cycling, came back. 7 years off, finished his top 10, right, in the tour. It was just one of these remarkable things. Why I offer you that is not very many athletes can do it. Guys need to stay pretty busy. They don't have to be Donald Cerrone busy, but that 2 to 3 fights a year, that's kind of the sweet spot. I mean, you want to be in training camp. You want to keep your weight within striking distance. You want to keep your timing on. But I'm a little bit misled because something that Luke didn't add, so I want to add this to the story, is he isn't done competing. He's not even done training. He just said, for now, I don't know if I'm going to fight again. Where I offer you that is he's about to go to Polaris, a great grappling event in England, and he's about to take on Nicky Rodriguez. Nicky Rodriguez, for any of you that don't follow grappling, is one of the hottest things on the scene right now. He's with the Danaher Death Squad. He trains every day with Gordon Ryan. He was second in Abu Dhabi. I mean, I could go on and on. He's like 22 years old. I could go on and on. But that's a big, hard match. By the way, Nicky Rod also happens to be size-wise bigger than Luke Rockhold. And as good as Luke is in grappling, I don't know that he's done competitive grappling in a meaningful period of time, but this is the courage of Luke Rockhold. And I do think if the music stops right now on Luke Rockhold's career, I do think that we need to tip our hat and acknowledge that is one of the greatest middleweights to have ever done it. And I'm not sure the greatest. Now, Anderson Silva will win that award, and I'll step back and you can make that argument, largely because of the time period. Luke's window was much smaller. It was very small. But in that period, when he beat Chris Weidman to when he lost the belt to Bisping, for that period, which was a short window, by goodness, I'm not sure he wasn't the best. I'm not sure there was ever a middleweight made that could beat him in that period of time. He was that good. The Weidman Luke Rockhold fight, I thought was the fight of the year. I always thought that fight never got the credit that it deserved. It ended, if I remember correctly, and this is off the top of my head, but I was there live, I believe in the 4th round. If you guys remember, Weidman hit that wheel kick, lost his balance, Luke took him down, stayed on top. But the bottom line was, it was just a war. It was a war. They were trading rounds. They were trading exchanges. They were trading grappling punches, kicked. It was an absolute war. And it was one of those fights, the second it was done, I go, whoa, this one's going to get rematched, and it's going to do huge business. That was so great. But it seemed to die down for whatever reason. The masses or the media didn't all agree with me. They didn't see what I saw. And I feel that they didn't appreciate it the same. So I will just share with you. Where does Luke's MMA career go? I don't know. And I have to say I don't know, because there is a relevance when a guy is staying in the gym and the guy's staying in shape and the guy's taking competitions. Don't forget, Uriah Faber just did this exact same thing. He said, hey, I'm all done with MMA. But then he went to the gym the next day. And then the day after that, and the day after that, then pretty soon Uriah Faber's doing grappling contests. Oh, and by the way, he's doing really well in those grappling contests. And before you know it, he goes, you know what, just throw me in the cage again. And now he's winning fights and knocking guys out, and he's right back on the contenders list. I mean, there is something about refining yourself. And I will tell you, coaches will tell you all the time. And they'll say, there's always these buzzwords in coaching. But one of the things they will tell you is you have to want it. You have to have desire. You have to have motivation. I, as a coach, do not use any of those buzzwords. And the reason is I don't feel that an athlete can control that. I can tell you for myself as an athlete, my days of being a motivated athlete ended 13 years ago. The days of looking at the clock and just being excited, wanting to get to practice, wanting to learn new things, wanting to work hard, wanted to push myself, wanted to punch and kick and learn new submissions. Those days ended 13 years ago. But I fought for 3 world championships in between them. I did find that something more important than being motivated and having desire and being driven was being disciplined. Whether you wanted to do it or not, whether you were excited or not, which was an emotion that I just couldn't control. I just couldn't flip that switch and be happy and excited. If I did, guys, I do it all the time. I wouldn't need anything in life. Life would be wonderful if I could flip a switch and just be happy and excited all the time. But I could control the discipline. Practice starts at 3. Am I on the mat at 3? Yes or no? Practice ends at 5 o'clock. Do I stay the whole time or do I leave early? Yes or no? I made it on being a disciplined athlete. And I don't mean to personalize this. Other than I can share with you that if the work is there, if he is in the room, if he is pushing, if he is grappling, if he's staying in shape, if he's keeping his weight down, if his timing stays on. Oh, and by the way, he walks out and does competitions. It is significantly different to train and compete. If he's staying busy and competing, just to offer you the Uriah Faber example or even the Nate Diaz example, I'm not sure that our days are completely done of seeing Luke Rockhold. That is up to him. And if the story ends now and he walks away, what an incredible career. But I think this is one of those to be continued.
Chael Sonnen, not a frail bone in his body, plus the skills he